शून्यवादी पाश्चात देश तारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि श्री गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। जगत गुरु शिल प्रभुपाद के, श्री पुरुषोत्तम मास की। हरे कृष्णा। सो आज
Hare Krishna.
पुरुषोत्तम मास के
So today,
पद्म पुराण के अंतर्गत
under the Padma Puran
पुरुषोत्तम महात्म्य के
and the glorification of Purushottam month, we are going to listen to the chapter 9 regarding the same.
नवम अध्याय का नाम
And this 9th chapter is addressed as the description of the king Drandarval's kingdom. So how a kingdom should be, how a country should be, and how a king should protect its citizens. So we can learn that from the life of King Dhandradva. And Sut Goswami speaks this Katha or pastime to the sages of Naimisharanya, and he recites,
दृढ़ धनवा गुणे युक्त शांतो दांतो जितेन्द्रियः पुष्करावर्तकं नाम नगरं तस्य धीमतः नगरम तस्य धीमतः। सूत जी कहते हैं कि हे ऋषि
Sri
मुनि,
Sut Goswami says that, O great sages, this Dhanva, the king, Guner Yukta, had many great qualities. He had so many great qualities. And what were his qualities? So, in regards to that, it is said, Shanta, Danta, Jitendriyaha. So this king Dhanva was patient. So Shant here implies usually a person who doesn't speak anything and keeps to himself. We say that he is patient. But actually, according to the scriptures, what is the definition of a Shanta or a patient man? So a person whose propensity or proclivity to enjoy their senses have been pacified, then that is the sign of Shantaha. And if a person has these desires to enjoy their senses, then he cannot be considered as Shanta. So if we have this propensity or proclivity to eat something good, so all these desires for sense gratification is ashant or the opposite. And for those who have their senses under control is shant. So a person who sits in a corner might not be patient but lazy, but a person who has controlled his senses, that person is shant. So this king Dridhanva was shant, that is, he had controlled his senses, or he didn't had any desire for sense gratification, and he's called Jitendriya because he had already won over his all the senses. And a person who gets defeated by the sense gratification, then he is called as Indrajit. So the only difference is that this king has won over his senses, but while we are all enslaved by our sense gratifications, desire. So whatever our senses want to see something or eat something, we do that. So our soul is driven by our sense gratification or desires for sense enjoyment. But a person who controls these desires for sense gratification is Jitendriya. So he is Shant, Dan, and Jitendriya. And he has many great qualities. And high, as you have heard yesterday, he in this country, high, they have one place that is called Pushkara Vartak. So this he resides in this Pushkara Vartak named city. He's the king of high country, but he resides in this Pushkara Vartak city. So it is beautifully described that he was extremely handsome and he was filled with all the great qualities. He was an expert archer. He was religious, pious, and truthful, and he had complete faith in truthfulness, and he always was impartial and always on the side of the truth. So it is mentioned that this Dradhanva, that all these 6 things, that is anger, lust, etc., he had won them over, and therefore he was capable to win over everyone. And how much wealth or opulence he had? He had wealth as equivalent to King Kubera, the god or demigod of wealth. And in forgiveness, he was like Mother Earth. And we all, day in and day out, we take so much from Mother Earth. We get our food, sleep, all the things we get from Mother Earth. And what do we give her back? That is the trash and garbage. And still she forgives us. So this king Dridhanva was as forgiving as Mother Earth, and he was as opulent as demigod Kuber. And he was as patient as the ocean. For ordinary things or ordinary comment, to get angry, he was not like that. he was very grave, as in the ocean, time immemorial, all these rivers enter, yet this ocean always remain grave and patient. So he was as opulent as Kuber, as forgiving as Mother Earth, and as grave as ocean. And when he used to be angry on his enemies, then he used to be death personified, or Lord Yama. So Yamaraj ji also becomes angry, but that is to maintain the principles of religiosity. In opulence, he was like fire, all bright, and he was focused as fo- he was as focused as the mountains, and if he had taken any vow, then he used to be fixated on the same. How? Like Meru mountain. In Gujarat, there was a great devotee and who has written a beautiful bhajan, that is Ganga Sati.
જેના પણ નો ડગે પાનબાઈ ભાંગી પડે બ્રહ્માંડ ચાહે બ્રહ્માંડ તૂટ જાય હે?
So even if the sky falls or the earth loses its position or place, but a pure devotee, elevated devotee of the Lord, his principles of religiosity, their piety never gets broken. And she says that even a Meru mountain can shake, but a devotee is always focused on the Lord. He never gets disturbed, or his faith is never shaken. So sometimes he used to preach as well. And when he used to preach, then Sut Goswami describes that in giving a counsel, he was as wise as Lord Brihaspati. And in beauty, he was personification of Kamadev. So it is said he had this vow to have only one wife. So although kings used to have many, many wives, and they used to have 2, 5, 10 wives, Chitraketu had 1 crore wives. That also we have heard. Daksh Prajapati had 16 wives. So we all have heard that. But if a king marries with so many wives, then he gets entangled in this. Therefore, they're not able to take the care of the kingdom properly. So for ideal king, Ramji is the best because he has one wife and he is focused on the welfare of his citizens. So although a king has this facility that he can marry many more, but still he had only one wife. He has taken this pledge to have only one wife, like Lord Sri Ramchandra. And he was capable of giving shelter to others, like Lord Ram. And while living his life on the basis of truth, he was Harishchandra personified. And Sud Goswami describes elaborately all the great qualities of this Dhrandharva king. So although he used to practice this devotional service, but by his potency, his citizens also became pious, or they all were pious like their kings. They all had control on their senses. They were truthful. They had imbibed all the qualities of their great king, and therefore in his kingdom there was no, or there was not any kind of shortcoming, and there was no cruelty or violence, because the king himself was so pious. And in his kingdom there was no unnecessary talks. So in India, in the towards evening especially, 20-25 people sit on a corner. What's going on here? What is Biden doing? First you should take care of your household thing. But they just get so much focus on who did this and who did that, etc., etc. So rather than focusing on our life, they are more focused on seeing outward. So in the kingdom of Dharva, there was nobody who was engrossed in speaking or taking interest in such things. Srila Prabhupada says that we should not talk unnecessarily. And I have got this experience. During the lockdown, I did the Katha constantly, and I did so much that the vocal cord got damaged. And I was in Delhi, and Dr. took me to the hospital, this and that. But at that time, I was said that I have to be mute for 1 month, because you have spoken so much in last few months. So you have to keep yourself mute. But I kept this for 10 days. But at that time, I contemplated a lot that unnecessarily, but we speak on Lord Krishna, so that is still acceptable, but unnecessarily talking will ruin our the quota of our speech. The Lord has given us a quota to speak, even for breathing, that also is there. So we should not waste it in talking about other people's unnecessary talks. Our speech is very, very powerful. Our words, by our words, we can control Lord Sri Shyamasundar, Lord Sri Krishna, the husband or master of so many goddesses of fortune, can be controlled just by our speech. And it has become our habit or nature that repeatedly we should try to avoid this unnecessary talk. I hope you all are ready for this Tulsi Archana. So today is Ekadashi of Purushottam. As this Purushottam month comes once in 3 years, so this Padmini Ekadashi also comes once in 3 years. So today, after Katha, we will offer Tulsi ji to the Lord and venerate him. So Nartaki Shiromani Mataji has got huge quantities of Tulsi ji, and so many are selecting Tulsi ji. If you haven't done, then you should also do the same. And if you're in US, you don't have Tulsi ji, then you can take other flowers. We can do the same. And if you don't have, then you can do it with your mind. But today we will do this. We will offer 1 lakh Tulsi leaves. That is our pledge. And we will do it post Katha. So I was saying that in the kingdom of this King Dhanva, there was no unnecessary talk.
शिल प्रभुपाद जी कहते हैं
So Srila Prabhupada ji
बोलना
say
ये काल
that
को निमंत्रण देने के बराबर
talking unnecessarily is like giving invitation to our death. For example,
मेंढक
in the rainy seasons, the frogs make sounds or noises,
होता है सर्प
and snake is the death of a frog because a snake eats frogs,
ताकत नहीं कि मेंढक
and
को
the
किसी
snake
को
doesn't
मार
have
पाए वो आसानी
this
से ढूंढ लेता
strength to find
है लेकिन
this
मेंढक
frog.
टर टर टर
But
करता
this
है
frog
और सांप को समझ
makes
में आ जाता है
so
ये
much noise
आवाज कर रहा
that the
है
snake
तुरंत
understands
पकड़
that the
लेता
frog
है
is here and he
तो
catches it and
संसार
eats
की
it.
व्यर्थ
So
चर्चा
the
मेंढक
unnecessary
की
talks
चुगली
of
के
this
समान है
material world
हम लोग
is
हमेशा
like the
काल को
croaking of
निमंत्रण
the
देते हैं
frog which
इसलिए
invites our
व्यर्थ
deaths.
चर्चा
Therefore,
नहीं करनी चाहिए
we should not waste our time on
दृढ़ राजा के
all
राज्य
these
में
unnecessary things. So
मिथ्या प्रजल्प नहीं था
in the
बाकी
kingdom
व्यर्थ
of
नहीं थी
Dhanva, nobody used to be wasting their time on unnecessary talks.
अभागे लोग नहीं
There were
थे राजा
no
दृढ़
person who
धनवा
was
के राज्य में
unfortunate in his
ऐसा
kingdom.
कहते हैं राजा दृढ़
There
धनवा
was
के
no
राज्य में कोई भिक्षुक नहीं था
impiety. There was no
कोई भिखारी
beggar in
नहीं
his
था
kingdom.
दरिद्रता नहीं थी
There was no
इवन जीवों की हिंसा नहीं होती थी किसी भी
violence
निर्दोष
against
जीव
animals.
को
So
दृढ़
any
धनवा
kind
के
of
राज्य में
living
मारा नहीं
entity
जाता था
was never killed
और
in his
उस
kingdom.
राज्य में राजा तो
And
धार्मिक थे
the
प्रजा
king
भी
was pious,
पक्षद्रोह से मुक्त थी
but the
उनके राज्य
citizens
में रहते
also
हुए
were
वो दूसरों के
like
प्रति
that,
द्रोह नहीं रखते थे
and they were not envious
पर
towards
आरंभ
others,
में रति नहीं रखते थे पराई
and they
स्त्री
didn't
पराई
have
पत्नी में रुचि
attachment
नहीं
to
रखते
other
थे
people's
जैसे आजकल
wives.
समाज
As
जिस दिशा
in
में जा
today's
रहा है
world, the
क्रोध नहीं
people are
करते
moving in this direction. So
महाराज दृढ़
they
धनवा
never
के
used to
राज्य
get
में
angry.
मलिनता नहीं थी
There were
हमेशा
no
देश का राजा अच्छा होना
uncleanliness
गुण प्रजा में
in
आता
the
है अब राजा
country.
का एक
So
ठिकाना
if
नहीं
a king
किसी
is
को
good,
अच्छा
then
कर
the
सकता
qualities are imbibed by their
सो
citizens as
मलिनता
well.
नहीं
So
थी
if the king is
राजा
not
दृढ़
good,
धनवा के
then
राज्य
what can we
में
expect from the
मत्सरता नहीं थी
citizens? So they didn't have
मत्सरता में
any
बिना वजह किसी को परेशान करने की
envy.
वृत्ति
They
नहीं
didn't
थी
have they didn't
जैसे
had
आजकल हम
this
लोगों में है जिस
habit of
आदमी
troubling others.
जिसने
So
हमारा
if a
कुछ
person
नहीं बिगाड़ा
who
एक
hasn't done
रुपए भी
anything
हमारा
wrong,
नहीं है
he,
लेकिन
we
वो
don't
हमारे
have
ऊपर
any
हम उनके
1 rupee
विचार
business,
करते हैं
but
वो
for
तुम्हारे
hours they
खिलाफ
speak
ये
against
करता है वो
us.
करता है भाई उसने
They
तेरा
do
क्या
this and
बिगाड़ा
that. So what
बिना
wrong has he done
वजह
for you? So without
मत्सरता
any
भावना
reason,
दूसरों की निंदा
they
दूसरों की
criticize
हानि करने की
others.
भावना मत्सरता
That is the quality
सो
of
मत्सरता नहीं
matsartha
थी राजा दृढ़ धनवा के
or
राज्य में
envy towards other.
अब इससे अंदाजा लगा सकते हैं कि राजा कितना
So
महान होगा
we can
उनके
take a
पास सब
clue that
चीजें
how
नहीं
great
होती
this
थी
king
सब
would
लोग अपने
be.
दरवाजे खुले रखते थे
Everybody
लेकिन
used to
अंदर
have
ताला क्या
open
होता है
gates,
यही नहीं जानते थे
and as there
क्योंकि
was
राजा
no
ताले नहीं
robbery
खाता
there, they had no
चोर नहीं
locks,
थे डाकू नहीं थे
they didn't have any thieves or
राजा दृढ़
dacoits.
धनवा के राज्य में
In
कोई
his
किसी की
kingdom,
चुगली नहीं करता था
nobody used
चुगली
to
जानते हैं आप तो नहीं जानते आप तो करते ही नहीं है ना आपको
speak
तो ये सब
ill
पता ही नहीं
of
होगा
others.
चुगली गुरुजी वो है ना वो ऐसा करता है वो ऐसा करता
Uh,
है तू
That
मतलब
he
दूध में
does
नया
that,
हुआ है
and
तू बिल्कुल
he does that,
गंगा की जितना पवित्र
and
है
you're as pure as Mother
हम
Ganga.
लोग बस दूसरे की ही लेकर बैठते हैं कि वो
So
ऐसा है
we
वो
just
वैसा
discussed
है
the
तो राजा दृढ़
ill
धनवा के
qualities of
राज्य
others.
में
So
कोई चुगली
in
नहीं
the
करता
kingdom
था
of King Dhanva,
द्वेष नहीं
there
था
was nobody who will talk
किसी
ill of others,
एक दूसरे के साथ वैर नहीं था
and they didn't have
क्रोध
any
नहीं था
animosity towards others. They
पराई
didn't have
धन के
any
धन को
anger.
ले लेने की
They
भावना
didn't
नहीं थी
have this
इस राज्य के किसी भी
proclivity
व्यक्ति
to
में
get the wealth of others.
इस राज्य में
So
रहने वाले
in this
प्रजा में
country,
किसी भी प्रकार की लालच नहीं थी
people didn't have
शीलता नहीं थी
any greed towards other. They
इंद्रियों
didn't
के
have
प्रति
any
जलन नहीं थी
animosity.
दंभ नहीं
They
था
didn't have any
दंभ माने जो
hypocrisy
नहीं है वो दिखाना
to.
मतलब भक्ति की एक बूंद भी नहीं है
So we
फिर
don't
भी
have
जब
any
लोगों के
iota
सामने
of
आते हैं
devotional
ओ
service.
हो
But when we come in front of people, then
इसको तो
people think that
प्रभुपाद के बाद बस यही होगा ऐसा लगता है मतलब
after
दिखावा तो
Prabhupada,
हम
he
इतना कर
is
लेते
the
हैं
greatest devotee.
ये है
That is how we pretend. So that is pretense or dam. So whatever we don't are, and to present ourselves in that manner, that is hypocrisy or pretense. So by just listening to this chapter is great. When we listen to great things, we like it much. So there was no conceit or deceit. So Krishna likes everything except conceit or deceit.
सो जेहि पावा मोहे छल कपट छिद्र न भावा. स्वयं भगवान रामचंद्र ने कहा,
So Lord Ramchandra himself says that I like everything except conceit.
राजा दृढ़धनवा के राज्य
So this king Dridhanva's kingdom, there was no person who was miser. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna says, so miser is that if you have a capacity and still you don't do that work, that is miserliness. So if a great temple is being constructed and you don't help them by your wealth, body, etc., then if you can do it, if you are capable and still you don't do it, then that is miserliness. So in his kingdom, there was no one who was a miser. And there was no one who was not a devotee of Lord Hari. Everybody was engaged in performing devotional service towards the Lord. And they all used to serve their parents, they used to respect their parents, and according to their caste and creed, they used to enterprise and follow the Varnashram Dharma very sincerely. Such was the qualities of King Dhandriva and his citizens. So then Sud Goswami says that nobody can fully describe this kingdom and what was the reason behind everything being so great and perfect in his kingdom. And Sud Goswami says the reason was
तस्य राष्ट्रे हरि भक्ति युते शुभे हरि भक्ति युतान्येव दिनानि यान्ति यान्ति च. महत् सुखम तत् राष्ट्रे, तत् उस राष्ट्र में, राजा दृढ़धनवा के राज्य में,
the kingdom of this king Dhandriva had all the bliss, and the reason being Hari Bhakti Yute Shubhe. The reason was that the king was a great devotee of the Lord, Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the citizens also were devotees of the Lord, and because of that, the kingdom was surrounded by bliss. So we cannot control the country or state, but at least we can do it in our society and family. If in our family and society or in country or state we want this bliss and we expect this bliss, then we should practice unalloyed devotional service towards the Lord. So King Dhandriva and his citizens, each and every day, they used to work from their body, but their heart and mind was totally focused on the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna. And how they used to perform that, Sud Goswami recites beautifully.
द्वयमिद्रसूनो तीर्थानि नान्यत्र चालविद्वन् जगाद जिह्वा जगदीश नामा करो जगन्नाथ पदाब्ज पूजा। यत जिसके, यत
So Yat, whose
माने उस राजा
ear means
जिस
the
राजा के
king,
पाद द्वयम
which
इंद्र
king
सुनो,
Padavdayam
जिस
Indra
राजा
Suno,
के दोनों चरण
whose both the
तीर्थानी
feet
तीर्थ करने में ही चलते थे।
Tirthani were always engaged
So,
in
यदि
going to
पादः
the holy
उस राजा
places,
के दोनों चरण
or he always
तीर्थों में
used to
चलते
walk
थे और न यत्र चचाल
for
विद्वम्,
pilgrimage,
तीर्थों के अलावा
and except that
वे गोकुल
Nanyantri
मथुरा
Chachal
वृंदावन
Vidwan.
ऐसे पवित्र स्थानों में जाने
So
के अलावा राजा अपने चरण को कहीं लेकर नहीं जाता।
he will not use his
और
legs for anything
सर्वांग
else.
जिह्वा जगदीश नामा, और अपनी जिह्वा को
And by
जगदीश भगवान श्री
his
कृष्ण
tongue,
का नाम बोलने में
he
लगाइए।
used to chant the holy names of
करो
Lord
अपने
Jagdish,
हाथ
and his hands
जगन्नाथ पदाब्ज पूजम, अपने हाथों को
were
जगन्नाथ जी के चरणों की
constantly
पूजा
used
करने में लगा
to
रखे थे।
venerate Lord Jagannath Ji's lotus feet.
ननाम नारायण दास वर्यः मृते कदाचिन्न शिरस ततद्यम। केवल हरि भक्त महात्माओं के ही निमित्त उनका मस्तक झुकता था।
He always used to bow down
मतलब
at the lotus feet of great sages and saints.
ननाम माने झुकना,
Nana means
अपने
to bow
मस्तक को
down.
नवाना। तो ननाम
So
नमस्कार
Nana
करने
means
के
to bow down.
नारायण दास,
Narayan,
नारायण
Dasvarya,
जो दास है
the servants
वही
of Lord
भक्त है,
Narayan, and Vare, that
जो
is the
भगवान के
exalted
शुद्ध भक्तों के
devotees of
चरणों
the
में
Lord.
मस्तक झुकता था,
He used to bow down at the
भगवान
lotus
के
feet
चरणों में मस्तक झुकता।
or at the lotus feet of the Lord
सदा
himself.
सीतापति चित्र गाथाम, और अपने कानों से निरंतर
And by
सीतापति
his ears, he used
रामचंद्र
to
की कथा
constantly
सुनते थे।
listen to the glories and
व्याकुल
pastimes
थे
of
जो नेत्र
Lord
विद्याओं
Sri
से,
Ram and Mother Sita.
और अपनी आंखों से अपने नेत्रों
And with his eyes,
भगवान विष्णु का दर्शन करने में
he
लगे।
used to have an audience with Lord
इस
Sri
प्रकार
Vishnu.
राजा
So in this manner, King Dridhanva
भगवान की भक्ति में थे
was
और
totally
जो जीवन
engrossed in
उनका जीवन
performing
उनका
unholy
राज्य
devotional service towards the
परिवार,
Lord,
ये सब
and
ठीक
his
से चल रहा था।
kingdom was running perfectly well. But one day,
और वह क्या दुर्घटना थी?
an event happened. And what was that? It
पुरुषोत्तम
the chapter is ninth chapter is concluded here.
राजधानी वर्णनम नाम नवम अध्याय समाप्तः। सो इस प्रकार
So in this manner, under Padma Puran, the glories of Purushottam from Padma Puran has been concluded. So as you all are aware, so let's do Jai Jaikar.
श्री पुरुषोत्तम मास की। पंडित जी जब अध्याय समाप्त होता है तो जय जयकार कराते ना, तो हमने भी करा दी। सो इस पुरुषोत्तम मास में,
So in this Purushottam month, it is glorious to recite, sing the Ashtakam, and in these 3 days, we are going to recite Jagannath Ashtakam as we are contemplating on that. So this Jagannath Ashtakam, as his glories are innumerous beyond contemplation, he is the Lord of this Kali Yuga, and he is similar to us. So in this Ashtakam or 8 verses of Lord Jagannath Ji, all our sins can be atoned. So in Jagannath Ashtakam, Lord Jagannath Ji is venerated in these 8 verses. As you've heard, that the composer of this Jagannath Ashtakam is Shripad Shankaracharya, and when he went to Jagannath Puri, then he offered this Ashtakam as his offering to Lord Jagannath Ji. So in these verses, Lord Jagannath Ji's beauty, pastimes, and qualities are described. So Sripad Adi Shankaracharya
सदैव अपनी आंखों के सामने रखते थे.
used to keep it always in front of his eyes. And in this Ashtakam,
बहुत सुंदर तरीके से
he
किया. यदि कोई
he
इस वर्णन को
describes
सुनता
Jagannath
है,
Rath Yatra beautifully. And if someone listens to this or
वो मंत्रमुग्ध
recite
हो
it,
जाता है.
then he becomes mesmerized by the glories of the Lord. And later, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came,
की यात्रा के दौरान
and during the Jagannath Puri Yatra,
जगन्नाथ अष्टकम को निरंतर पाठ
he used to constantly recite this Jagannath Ashtakam.
जगन्नाथ
And if
अष्टकम के इन श्लोकों को श्रद्धा से पढ़ता है,
someone
सुनता है या
recites or sings
तो भगवान
them or
जगन्नाथ
listens
उसे
to them,
आशीर्वाद देते हैं.
then Lord Jagannath
यदि किसी व्यक्ति को कोई कष्ट हो,
bestows
तो
his
इस
utmost
जगन्नाथ
mercy.
अष्टकम के
And if
पाठ
someone
से
has any
वह
trouble, then
शीघ्र ही दूर
by
हो
this
जाता है.
Jagannath Ashtakam's
इस जगन्नाथ
mercy,
अष्टकम का
all
पाठ
these
करने
obstacles
से
are removed. And
भौतिक
by
सुख आनंद
this
प्राप्त होता है.
Jagannath Ashtakam, we can get all the material opulence and bliss.
इस अष्टकम का पाठ करने से जीवन
And by
सुंदर हो
reciting
जाता
this,
है.
our
मन
life
शुद्ध बुद्धि
becomes
वाला हो
blissful,
जाता है.
our
और
heart gets
मृत्यु के
purified,
समय में
and at the
हरे
time of our
विष्णु
death,
लोकम से गच्छति.
we
वो भगवान का
attain
धाम
the
वैकुंठ को प्राप्त
eternal
होता है.
abode of the Lord, that is Vaikuntha.
तो ऐसे सुंदर महिमावंत
So,
जगन्नाथ अष्टकम के ऊपर
such Jagannath Ashtakam,
स्मरण चिंतन करें.
we
इसको
are
दो चार
contemplating on that.
दो
But
पांच
before that,
भावों से इस जगन्नाथ
for five,
अष्टकम को हम
4-5
श्रद्धा
minutes, let's
बढ़ाएं.
recite this Jagannath Ashtakam with love
इस जगन्नाथ अष्टकम को हम लोग समझें.
and understand the same as
श्री
well.
जगन्नाथ स्वामी.
J
भुजा
means
माने
the
हाथ.
hand.
ओके. तो भुजे
So
मतलब दो
Bhuje,
भुजा.
so the two hands.
सो भगवान जगन्नाथ की भुजा है.
So Lord Jagannath
दो
has
भुजा
two
में
hands.
एक भुजा. कौन सी
And
भुजा? भुजे
in one hand,
सव्ये.
which hand?
अब ये सव्ये का अर्थ क्या है?
Savya. What is the meaning of this
भुज
Savya?
माने भुजा, हाथ.
So Bhuje means hand,
सव्ये माने लेफ्ट,
but Savya means left.
बायां.
So
बायां
his
हाथ.
left hand.
तो भुजे सव्ये माने भुजा, सव्ये
So
माने
Bhuje
बायां.
Savya means
सव्ये
the
माने
left
बायां.
hand.
भगवत
So
गीता
you will say that
याद आ रहा है
Savya means
क्या
left.
होता
Do
है?
you remember from Bhagavad Gita?
श्रीमद् भगवत गीता में कृष्ण ने
In
अर्जुन
Srimad
को
Bhagavad Gita,
क्या कहा?
Krishna
निमित्त
tells
मात्र
Arjuna,
भव सव्य साची. अर्जुन को कृष्ण ने
Nimit
संबोधित
Matra
किया
Bhavasatya
सव्य
Sachi,
साची.
Savya
ओके.
Sachi.
और यहाँ पर भुजे
And here,
सव्ये.
Bhuje
अर्जुन को
Savya.
सव्य साची, यहाँ
So
भुजे
there,
सव्ये.
Arjuna was addressed as Savya
भगवत
Sachi.
गीता में अर्जुन को सव्य साची क्यों कहा?
So why he was
वैसे अर्जुन
addressed
राइट
as
थे.
Sabyasachi? Although he was
राइट
right-handed
हैंड से बाण चलाते
archer
थे.
and
लेकिन
he used
अर्जुन जितना
to
अच्छा राइट हैंड से बाण चलाते थे, उतना ही अच्छा
do
लेफ्ट
archery
हैंड से
with
बाण
right
चला
hand,
लेते थे.
but he was capable to do the same with his
Originally
left
वो
hand as
original
well.
right ही थे,
Originally he was
लेकिन
right-handed
जितना बाण
archer,
चलाते थे उतना
but
लेफ्ट से भी चलाते थे.
he was capable
तो
to do this
जनरली
archery from his left
हमारे
hand as
राइट
well,
हैंड में
very
यदि हम
expertly.
राइटी है
Usually,
तो
if we are
हमारे राइट हैंड में
right-handed,
जो पावर जो ताकत होती
then
है
the
वो
strength
लेफ्ट हैंड
will
में नहीं
be
होती,
more as compared
है
to
ना.
our left
हम जब
hand
भी कोई काम करते हैं, कोई वजन
whenever
उठाते
we
हैं
do
या कुछ भी,
something.
तो
So,
यदि हम राइटी है तो राइट हैंड
if
पे
we are
हम फोकस
right-handed,
करेंगे.
then we will focus
तो
more on
अर्जुन
our right
कैसे थे?
hand first.
अर्जुन
But
राइट हैंड
Arjuna
से
was
बाण
not like that.
चलाते थे और लेफ्ट हाथ भी उनका
He
उतना ही
was
पावरफुल था. इसलिए
extremely
उनको
potent
सव्य
in both
साची
the ways
लेफ्ट हैंड से
to
बाएं
archer
हाथ
with
से भी
left
वो
and
बाण
right
चलाने
hand.
में समर्थ
And
थे,
because he was
इसलिए
expert
अर्जुन
in
को सव्य साची कहा.
do archery from his
निमित्त
left hand,
मात्र
that is
भव
why he is
सव्य
addressed
साची.
as Savyasachi by
ओके.
Lord Shri
तो
Krishna.
सव्य शब्द मिल गया
So
भगवत
Savya
गीता से.
is left
लेफ्ट हैंड मतलब
from
दाहिना
Bhagavad
बायां हाथ.
Gita.
अब
So that
यहाँ
is the
पर आ
left hand.
जाइए.
So now
भुजे,
here,
जगन्नाथ जी की
Bhuje,
भुजा. कौन सी
so
भुजा?
the
सव्ये.
left hand
बाईं
of
भुजा.
Lord Jagannath ji,
ओके. तो भुजे सव्ये, बाईं भुजा में क्या है?
what is there in his
इसको
left hand?
देखकर वेणु.
Venum.
जगन्नाथ जी की बाईं भुजा में वेणु है.
So in his left hand he has
तो
a
यहाँ पर
flute.
इतना तो सिद्धांत क्लियर हुआ.
So here we
भगवान कौन
understood
से
that
हाथ में बांसुरी पकड़ते हैं?
the Lord
राइट हैंड में कि लेफ्ट हैंड में? सो भगवान श्री कृष्ण
keeps
लेफ्ट
his
हैंड में
flute in
बाएं
his
हाथ में
left
बांसुरी
hand.
उठाते हैं. सो भुजे सव्ये, भुजे सव्ये मतलब अन्वय के अनुसार सव्ये भुजे, बाईं भुजा में
So on his left hand, he keeps a flute.
वेणु धारण करते हैं, बंसरी धारण करते हैं. So इतना एक शब्द है कि भुजे.
So this is one word, Bhujya Savya Venu. So in this verse, in these two lines, his beauty is being described, that where he keeps what. So first and foremost, he has flute on his left hand. So when the word of flute comes and we don't remember the gopis, then so only three people rule the Braja, that is Venu, Dhenu and Renu.
रेणु ब्रज में भी है, वॉशिंगटन डीसी में भी है. वेणु, धेनु,
So Venu, Dhenu and Renu. So this is the rule of Dhenu, that is the mother cow. Venu, that is the flute of the Lord, and Renu, the lotus, the dust of the lotus feet of the Lord in Vraja. So all these three rule the Vraja. So the gopis. So today, when I woke up, Radhika was listening to Guru Maharaj's Katha, and I was doing something else, and I just heard for 2 minutes. So I have heard the Venu Geet from Guru Maharaj in physically twice, and I have heard innumerable times from his audio, and I got focused for 2 minutes and I got to hear Venu Geet from the Guru Maharaj. So I thought, let me share it with you as well. So Guru Maharaj says that in Bhagavatam it is mentioned as Venu Geet, but the Venu Geet that we sing is actually not a Venu Geet. So what do we sing in Venu Geet? That Krishna played the flute and gopis said this, and the flute played like this and that melody. So every gopi got a different message, personalized message from the flute, and that mellow is known by only Lord Krishna or the gopis. So we say Venu Geet, but actual Venu Geet, that is what I heard from Guru Maharaj. I've heard so many times, but today I marked this point that Guru Maharaj was speaking, that we speak Venu Geet, and what do we say? We have so many types of flutes. It's so much long. It is made with bamboo, etc. That is what we hear. But in actual, Krishna has put the nectar of his lips that he sent individually personalized message to the gopis. So only he knows, or the gopi to whom he sent you. So we all just try to satisfy ourselves, and therefore Guru Maharaj said, today only I heard that his Guru Maharaj was Hanuman Bhai Padal, and he used to pray to the Lord, oh Shyam Sundar Lord Shri Krishna, I don't need anything from you, but I just want to listen to your flute. And throughout his life, he had this only desire that I want to listen to this flute. And I'm speaking on the point in Jagannath Ashtakam, second verse, Bhuje Savya Venu. So in his left hand, he carries this flute, and when he plays the flute, then the gopis say, oh dear friend, just tell me that this flute, what has she done in her life?
किम आचरयद अयम वेणु कुशलम स्म वेणु इस वेणु ने ऐसा क्या किया है
So what has she done
ऐसा
so
क्या अद्भुत
perfectly?
किया है इस वेणु ने ऐसी कौन सी तपस्या की
And
है
what kind of austerity
ऐसा
she has
व्रत जप
performed?
तप किया है
What kind of
कि
fasting she
दामोदर
has
अधर
observed?
सुदाम
That
अपि
Damodar
गोपीका नाम
Adhara Sudha
जिस दामोदर
Mapi
अधर से
Gopika
कृष्ण
Nam.
का अधर
So
टपके
Lord
तो रस
Damodar,
गोपियों को
whose
मिलना चाहिए
nectar of lips
हम
should
गोपी
be
रात दिन कृष्ण से प्रेम
given
करती
to
हैं कृष्ण
all the
चूमे हाथ
gopis
हो
who
जाती हैं
love him
तो
day
जिस
and
कृष्ण
night,
के अधर
we
ओष्ठ पुष्प
sacrifice
या वो
ourselves,
रस
surrender
हम
ourselves
गोपियों को मिलना
completely,
चाहिए
and we
लेकिन
are
हम गोपियों को
appropriate
देकर
candidate to get that. But
भूंगते
instead of giving
स्वयं
it to
विष्णु
us,
रसम हृदन्यो कृष्ण के हृदय का रस वो केवल अकेली अकेली
Krishna's
वो वेणु है
nectar
इसको
from
तो
his
सारे
heart
ही पी
is
लेंगे
enjoyed by this flute
रसयत्व
alone.
चक्षुषुरु मुमुचु तरवो यथार्थ और कृष्ण उस वेणु के पीछे पता नहीं क्या इस वेणु ने जादू किया है
I don't know what magic
कृष्ण
she has
पागल कर दिया
performed
है
that she has made
सो इस प्रकार से
Krishna madly in love with
गोपियां
her. And so the
अपने
gopis
आप में एक सखी दूसरी सखियों को निवेदन करती
are
हैं
discussing each or talking with each
तब एक
other
गोपी ने
in this
कहा
manner. Then
कि
one
मुझे ये
gopi
पता नहीं
says,
चलता कि
I don't
कृष्ण
know
का नाम
that
गोपीनाथ किसने रखा
who
सखी
named him
बता
Gopinath.
इसको गोपीनाथ कौन कहता है इसका नाम गोपीनाथ किसने रखा
He who has addressed
क्यों भाई क्या
named
कोई
him as
प्रॉब्लम है
Gopinath.
हैं?
So what is the
गोपीनाथ में
problem
कोई
in that?
प्रॉब्लम है बोले हाँ ये
And
कृष्ण
she says, yes,
गोपीनाथ
that this
नहीं ये
Krishna
वेणुनाथ है
is not Gopinath, he
ये
is
गोपीनाथ नहीं
Venunath.
है ये
He
वेणुनाथ
is
है
not our Lord, he is partial
ये
towards this flute.
गोपीनाथ होते तो गोपियों के
If
साथ रहते
he had
गोपियों के
been with the
साथ होते
gopis, he
रहते
would have resided with gopis,
पता
would have
नहीं
spent
रात
time
दिन
with
इस
gopis.
वेणु के
But
साथ
day and
गोपी
night he
रहते
spends his
सोते हैं
time
एक पल के लिए भी
with the
वेणु को
flute,
अपने से
that is
दूर नहीं
Venu,
करते
and
हैं
he never separates this
और
flute from
थोड़ी सी
himself.
लज्जा भी नहीं
And
आती
oh, friend, she
वेणु जो है ना
doesn't get
एक्चुअली
shame,
बंसी
she's not ashamed of
स्त्रीलिंग है
herself. So this
मुरली ये स्त्रीलिंग है ये
flute
वेणु
is
जो है
of
ये
feminine,
पुल्लिंग
but
है
this Venu is
एक्चुअल व्याकरण के अनुसार
masculine
नान्यतर जातक
according
है
to grammar.
स्त्री नपुंसक लेकिन गोपी ने व्याकरण के अनुसार जोड़ दिया कि ये वेणु तो
That
पुरुष है
this
ये
Venu
पुरुष
is
अगर रात दिन
masculine
पुरुष के साथ
and
रहा
day and
करता
night
है और
he
उसी का
spends
द्रव्य
time with
स्पर्श ये सब
Lord Shri
लेता है
Krishna
इसको लज्जा
and
नहीं
takes the
आती
nectar of the lips of the Lord. Isn't
किसी एक
he
गोपी
ashamed
ने
of
कहा
himself? Then
ये
one gopi
वेणु
replies
कृष्ण को कितना
that
नचाती
this
है
Venu
इतना बड़ा
makes
गिरिराज
Krishna
पर्वत
dance
धारण किया
on
कृष्ण
its tune.
एक
Krishna
तिल
had
भी
carried
हिले नहीं
Giri Govardhan and he didn't. He
इतना
was
बड़ा
fixated
पर्वत उठाया लेकिन फिर भी कृष्ण झुके नहीं हिले नहीं
and he
डिगे नहीं
didn't bow
लेकिन
down,
जैसे ही
nor
वेणु हाथ
he
में लेते हैं एक नहीं अपने तीन अंगों से झुक जाते हैं
he didn't bow
तीन
down. But
अंगों से
when
टेढ़े हो
he
जाते हैं
takes this flute in his hand,
ये वेणु ने
he
कृष्ण को करने
bends
को
from
जगा दिया
three parts of his limbs.
रुद्र संहिता के अनुसार
According to Rudra
शिवस्तु
Sanhita,
वंशिका शिव जी
Shivastu Vanshika,
बंशी के रूप में प्रकट
that
हुए हैं
Shivji himself has
तो पिछले
manifested
दिनों हम सब
or
ने
appeared as a flute.
वेणु
So
गीत की कथा
previously
सुनी थी
we have heard the
इसमें ये सारी बातें
pastime
ऐसे
of
मैं
Venugit,
रिपीट नहीं करूंगा
which we have
विभुर
discussed earlier.
पुरुषोत्तम
So I'm not discussing it
अनुचरित्रार्थ
in
में मैं
detail, but
कहूंगा
I will just tell you which I didn't share that time.
अब वेणु आपकी
So
जानकारी
this
के लिए
flute, for your
ये वेणु जो है
information,
ना
this
केवल
flute or
वृंदावन में
Venu
ही है
is only in Vrindavan.
मथुरा जाओगे
In
वहां वेणु
Mathura,
नहीं मिलेगी
he doesn't have that flute.
द्वारिका जाओगे
In
वहां भी
Dwarika, he
कृष्ण की
doesn't have
वेणु
this flute.
मुरली बंसी नहीं मिलेगी इवन आप वैकुंठ चले जाओ
Even in Vaikuntha,
वैकुंठ में भी वेणु
you will not
मुरली बंसी
find
नहीं
this
मिलेगी
flute
ये
of the
बंसी
Lord.
ये वेणु
This flute
एक और मात्र एक
is
ब्रज में
only and only in
वृंदावन में
Braja,
है
in Vrindavan.
इवन भगवान श्री कृष्ण
So Lord Shri
जब
Krishna,
वृंदावन छोड़कर मथुरा गए
when
और फिर
leaves
वहां से
Vrindavan
वैकुंठ
for
चले
Mathura
गए
and from there to Dwarika,
तो कृष्ण अपनी वेणु को
then Krishna
ब्रज से बाहर नहीं लेकर गए
didn't took his flute
कृष्ण अपनी वेणु
from
ब्रज में
Raja.
छोड़ कर गए।
He left his flute behind in
तो अब
Raja.
हम तो डिवोटी लोग प्रश्न
So
करेंगे ना
we
कि भाई
all
ब्रज
devotees
में
will ask,
कहाँ छोड़ कर गए।
where in Raja had he left his flute?
तो कुछ कुछ आचार्यों के मत
So
है,
some
सूरदास
learned
जी के
scholars
अनुसार,
have said, according to
सूरदास
Surdas
जी पृथ्वी
ji,
संप्रदाय में आते हैं,
who belongs to
वल्लभाचार्य
Prishti Sampradaya
महाप्रभुपादाचार्य के संप्रदाय में,
in the lineage of
श्रीमती
Vallabhacharya.
गौड़ाचार्य या सूरदास जी के अनुसार
So
कृष्ण
according to
ब्रज से जब
them,
बाहर गए
when
तब
Krishna
अपनी
left
वेणु
Raja,
यशोदा मैया को
he
देकर गए।
left
ये
his
सूरदास जी
flute
ने
to
अपने
Mother
भजनों में लिखा
Yashoda.
है,
It is mentioned in the bhajans of Surdas ji.
बंशी यशोदा को। हमारे गौड़ीय ग्रंथों के अनुसार
According
कृष्ण
to the
अपनी वेणु
Gaudiya
यशोदा को नहीं दे
Vaishnavism,
सकते, अपनी
he
वेणु
cannot
राधा रानी
keep
को देकर
his
गए।
give his flute to Mother Yashoda, but he gave it to
और
Srimati Radharani.
तत्व के अनुसार,
And
सिद्धांत के
according to
अनुसार,
essence or
जैसे भगवान
philosophy,
श्री कृष्ण प्रकट होते हैं
as
अपुरुषोत्तम,
Lord Krishna manifest and
वैसे कृष्ण की
unmanifest,
वेणु भी
similarly his
कभी प्रकट
flute
होती है,
also
कभी
manifests
अप्रकट
and
होती है।
unmanifests.
सही इस प्रकार मैं ज्यादा नहीं
So in
कहूंगा,
this
बहुत सारे
manner, I am
श्लोक
not
हैं।
going to
मेरे
detail
इस
because we have so
प्रवचन
many
में
verses. So on what
जगन्नाथ
we are
अष्टकम के इस दूसरे
talking,
श्लोक में
we are
तीन
discussing
शब्द
the
हैं,
second verse,
भुजे सव्ये
this
वेणु।
Bhuje Savya Venu.
तो सव्ये भुजे अपने बाई
So
भुजा
Savya
में
Bhune,
जो वेणु
Bhuje,
धारण करते हैं,
he
मैं सच
carries
कहूं
this Venu that is
बिना
the flute.
वेणु
So
के
let me add
कृष्ण
one thing.
कुछ नहीं है।
Without flute,
कृष्ण
Lord
का
Krishna
परिचय
is
ये तो
nothing. His
जगन्नाथ अष्टकम में,
introduction,
चाहे भागवत हो,
whether
रास
we
लीला हो,
take from
कृष्ण का
Bhagavatam,
परिचय
Brahmasam,
ब्रह्मा जी ने दिया, गोपियों ने
whether
दिया,
he is
किसने
introduced
दिया?
by Brahmaji or Gopis,
तो परिचय
etc.,
वेणु के साथ ही दिया।
that is
है
always
तो
with
कृष्ण
the
तब जब
flute.
हाथों में वेणु है।
Krishna is Krishna only when he carries his
गिरधारी
flute.
जो है वो कृष्ण वेणु माधुरी एक एक कृष्ण की एक कला है
It
जो
is
भगवान
an
विष्णु
art
में नहीं, नारायण में
of
नहीं,
Lord
अन्य कोई स्वरूप
Krishna which
अवतार में नहीं,
is not there
वो
in
सब वेणु
Vishnu and
माधुरी
other
है।
incarnations of the Lord.
जब इस प्रकार से कृष्ण वेणु के साथ ही रहते हैं, घूमते
So
हैं,
when he
अपने कमर में खोस कर चलते हैं और अपने
keeps
बिल्कुल
this
होठ
flute
के निकट उसको स्थान
with
देते
him
हैं,
all the
तो एक दिन
time,
गोपियों को
gives
बड़ी
it place
ईर्ष्या
near
हुई।
his
कृष्ण
lips,
एक दिन चल
so
रहे थे पेड़ के
the
नीचे, सनातन
gopis
गोस्वामी
became
महाराज वल्लभ लिखते
envious,
हैं,
and
श्रीमती
it is
राधा रानी धीरे
mentioned that
धीरे चल कर गई
Srimati
और
Radharani
कृष्ण
walked
के कंठ से
slowly
बांसुरी वेणु निकाल
and
ली और
she
चुरा
took
कर चली
the
गई।
flute and stole it from her,
थोड़ी देर के
from
बाद जब
him.
कृष्ण
And
जागे
after
तो
some
वहां
time, when
बांसुरी नहीं है।
Krishna woke up, he saw that there is
थोड़े
no
दूर
flute,
श्रीमती राधा रानी गोपियां
and
खड़ी थी, कृष्ण
the
समझ गए
gopis and
कि
Srimati
ये
Radharani were
ईर्ष्या
standing.
होती है, अक्सर ये
He
ईर्ष्या
thought
करती
that
हैं,
they all
इसलिए
are
मेरा flute
envious
चली गई है।
and they have taken my flute.
कृष्ण राधा आदि गोपियों के पास जाकर
So
कहते हैं,
Krishna goes to these cowherd girls along with
राधे
Radharani.
श्री वृषभानु दुलारी प्यारी बंसी दीजे मोय, हे राधे श्री वृषभानु दुलारी प्यारी बंसी दीजे बोय, या बंसी बिन चैन न पाऊं, बंसी बिना कैसे गाय चराऊं, या के बल गिरिराज उठाऊं, शिव ब्रह्मा सनकादिक या को, शिव ब्रह्मा सनकादिक या को, पारन पावे कोई, राधे श्री वृषभानु दुलारी प्यारी बंसी दीजे मोय। राधे गोपियों मेरी बंसी दे दो।
Oh, Radhe, oh gopis, please return my flute, because without it I
बिना
become
बंसी के मैं गाय
impatient.
कैसे
I
चराऊं,
become anxious.
बिना
Where,
बंसी के
how
मैं
will I
गीत
go to
कैसे
graze the
सुनाऊंगा,
cows? How will
शिव
I
ब्रह्मा
carry
सनकादिक
Giri
या
Govardhan?
कभी पार नहीं पा पाए, वो बंसी मुझे चाहिए।
So I need that flute,
राधा रानी कहती हैं
which
कि तुम्हारे
even
पास क्यों आए,
Brahma,
हमारे
Shiva
पास
also are
आए
unable to understand.
कैसी
So
कैसी
these
श्यामली
eternal
आई
associates
हैं,
of
हमने
the
तो
Lord
देखा
says
ही
that we don't have this
नहीं,
flute. We haven't seen your flute
तुम
at all.
छलना हम भोली भाली, चोर तो तू है हम लोग
He says, "You are conceitful thief, that we are not like you, that we will steal your flute." And this manner, there is this loving conversation between them. So, through the medium of Venugeet and pastimes, so we think that the gopis or the eternal associates have envy, spiritual enviousness towards the flute, but it's not like that. In Rup Goswami writes in Padyavali, Lord Srimati Radharani had herself gave benediction to the flute that you have satisfied and made my Shyam Sundar happy. So I bless you that you always accompany the Lord. So in this manner, in essence, Lord Jagannath ji is glorified by saying that he carries the flute in his left hand, and it works as a medium of conversation between the gopis and the Lord. So at that time there was no WhatsApp. So as Krishna used to play the flute, the gopis used to come running towards him. So such flute Lord Jagannath carries in his left hand. And further, what he wears on his head, Shikhi Picham. Shikhi means peacock. So on his head, he wears the pitch means feather of the peacock. So so in the first three words, it speaks of the left hand of the Lord, and on the head he wears the peacock feather. And very beautifully he the Krishna makes a beautiful bun on his head, and there is a beautiful pearl ornament that bedecks that bun, and in middle he puts peacock feather. And why does he wears this peacock feather on his head? He could have the feather of a pigeon or a crow as well. But why only the feather of peacock? So let me just share one or two reasons, although there are innumerous reasons. Because the peacock has no lust. So everybody or all the living entities give birth through. So, but in the case of the peacocks, it is not, they don't beget children by this. So when it rains and when the peacock cries and the peahen collects that the tears of the peacock, and then she gets impregnated, so he is relieved of lust. So Krishna gives a message that a person who has gotten rid of all the lust or sense gratification, I will carry him on my head, because he is devoid of all the lust. And why does he wears the peacock feather? So once Radharani was agitated with Krishna and tried hard to appease her, but she doesn't agree. So a peacock came and he started dancing beautiful. And Krishna started dancing.
कथा बहुत लंबी है, लेकिन
Uh,
मोर के कारण
But because of the peacock,
शांति हुई, राधा रानी मान गई,
Srimati Radharani
कृष्ण को
was
राधा रानी
pacified,
की दुखती नस हाथ में आ गई।
and Krishna
ये बंदी जो है
got this
श्रीमती राधा रानी जो है, ये रूठ
point
गई है,
that
तो ये मोर जो है
Srimati
उसको मनाने में थोड़ा इजी है,
Radharani
इसलिए
is
कृष्ण मोर पंख धारण कर लिए।
angry,
अब
then
इसकी जरूरत
I
बहुत पड़ेगी मनाने में।
appease her with the help of this peacock. So that is why he wears it on
और
his head.
मोर पंख इसलिए धारण करते हैं
And he also wears this, it is said
ये मोर की पांख जिसे पक्ष
that
बोलते हैं,
the feather of
पात,
the
मोर
peacock
पंख क्या
is
है?
called,
मोर एक पक्षी है और
the peacock
पंख
is
को
a
पात
bird.
कहते हैं। तो ये क्या है? पिछ, पक्ष
So
के
pitch
पात, पक्षपात।
is the,
तो इसे एक आचार्य ने अर्थ
so
निकाला
one scholar
कि
has
अपने
said,
मस्तक पर पक्षी की पात रखकर कृष्ण दिखाना चाहते हैं
by
कि मैं
keeping this
पक्षपाती हूँ।
peacock's feather on his head, he wants to reveal that I am partial. I am not,
मेरे जैसा पक्षपाती दुनिया में कोई नहीं है।
I am partial. I'm not impartial. It seems that I am impartial. He has said a lot in Bhagavad Gita that he has this, but he is he is equal for everyone. In Ramayana also he says that, but the Lord, he says, is not true. We cannot see that. At the time of the churning of the milk ocean, the hard work that the demigods performed, even the demons performed the same. They both worked hard. So if we become partial towards the demons, so the gopis say that what wrong has these demons done? They both had worked hard and they both were equally educated, learned, and everything was equal. Then why you gave the nectar to the demigods and not to the demons? Because you are impartial. And it is proved by the peacock feather that you carry on your head. So, so in a car there is a logo. We can understand that what kind of product this company might have. So this feather proves that he is impartial. Oh, he's partial. Otherwise, what wrong has Bali done for Lord Sri Ram? He hasn't harmed Bali in any way. Personally, he has not done anything to Ram. Has he teased Lord Sri Ram or pinched him? But Ramji killed him. Not only that, he killed him hiding behind a tree. Why? Because Sugrivji was a friend of Ramji and he wanted to be partial towards him and he became partial and killed him. Duryodhana had done so much wrong with Pandavas, but what wrong has he done towards Krishna? Duryodhana was bad, but he was a relative of Duryodhan. Duryodhan's daughter was married to Krishna's son. So personally, there is not a single pastime where Duryodhana has harmed Lord Shri Krishna. But when he offered 56 types of bhoga, Krishna says that I don't want to even drink water of your home. How much hurt Duryodhana might have felt. And he said that, why are you saying that you are cruel? Still, Duryodhana was in humility. He said, what have I, in what way I have wronged you? Have I said anything to you? Then Krishna says, you are not envious towards me, but Pandavas, who are my life and soul, you have been envious to them, and because of that implies that you are envious towards me, because I am partial to the Pandavas. So in this manner, so now that we're discussing about Vraja, so you have heard about the name of Shobri Rishi, wanted to perform austerity, and he thought that in the traffic, and so I will go deep inside Yamuna Ji and meditate. So he started his austerity there, and after a few days he saw a fish near Shobri Rishi, and she said, "Oh, great sage." And he said, "What happened? You're here performing austerity, which is good, but eagle comes and he takes the fish and eats it." Then Shobri Rishi was convinced. So this is the cycle of environment, but he cursed the eagle that you cannot enter Vraja. When Garuji got cursed, he was not hurt. He was not anxious. That the sage is good. Then I have the whole world. So Garuji was not troubled. But Krishna got distressed. He got angry that this sage will curse my eagle. It is his life is soul to eat these fish, and he is partial towards this eagle, and he thinks that now see what I will do. So Shobri Rishi performed austerity for 60,000 years deep inside the Yamuna Ji, but Krishna played such a game that after 60,000 years he got this lust, and because of that he married 50 daughters of King Mandhata. And how he was punished by getting married to 50 women. Even one was enough to punish. So he got married to 50 women. After that, Shobri, after his marriage, there is no history of this sage because he got entangled in all these wives. So he's partial towards his eagle. And in essence, in short, he carries flute on his left hand, and on his head he wears the feather of peacock. And further, then Kati Tate, in the first line, one word is there. So on his hips, he wears Kati Tate. So we will attach the first word in the second line, Dukulam. So on his hips, Dukul, he wears Dukul. So what is this Dukul? So we understand Kati Tate, that is the hips of the Lord. So what is this Dukul? Kul means the bank of the river, and Dukul means two banks of the river. So which cloth, a cloth which had two corners, it is called Dukulam. So if a mother wears a sari, then it is as Dukul because it has two corners. So the dress cannot be considered as dukulam because it so it cannot be considered dukul because it has been put in a shape. So dhoti is a dokul.
दुकुल माने लुंगी। अब तो आप लोग बरमूडा पहनते हैं, लेकिन एक जमाने में
So now you all wear Bermuda, but previously people used to wear lungi.
पहनते थे, तो उसमें भी दो कुल होता है।
So that also has two corners.
लुंगी
So
धोती।
dukul is a cloth which has two corners.
कृष्ण अपनी कटी तटे कमर पर दुकुल,
So on his hips he wears dukulam,
कपड़ा बांधते
a cloth. He ties this cloth. So he wears a dhoti, but on that there is an extra cloth that he ties on his hips. So there are three things. He wears flute on his left hand. On his head he wears the peacock feather, and on his hips he wears this cloth. And what does he do? So netrante, so you understand netra, that is the eyes. Ante means the corner of the eye. Ant means end. So the corner of the eye, and Krishna is with his friends. When he goes to graze the cows, so he has his cowherd friends with him and he walks with them, and the gopis get envious of this as well. They cry and speak that, oh friend, we are gopis, cowherd girls, that is the biggest problem. Brahmaji has given us a body of a woman, and that is the greatest hindrance. Had we been cowherd boys, then we could have been with Krishna for 24/7 and played with him and enjoyed our life. But we got this body of a cowherd girl. So Krishna is with his friends, but although he is in midst of his friends don't even realize. And what does he do? So from the corner of his eyes, he looks at the gopis with his sidelong glances. So while roaming with his cowherd girls, and he sees a cowherd girl, so from the corner of his eyes, he bestows his sidelong glance to them. And with his side glance, hurts the gopis, and she becomes unconscious. And then the cowherd boys realize that what happened. They're not aware that this friend is shooting arrows, and therefore the cowherd girls say, it is mentioned,
हे कृष्ण तेरी
oh Krishna, your eyes filled with coal has so much magic.
तेरा तो हसन औरों का मरण अब जान हाथ से खोना है। क्या खूब हुसन बयान करूं, ये सुंदर श्याम सलोना है। श्याम सखी प्राण धन जीवन, तू ब्रज का एक खिलौना है। सो भगवान श्री कृष्ण,
So Lord Shri Krishna,
नेत्रांते सहचर सखाओं के साथ विचरण करते हुए,
while roaming with his cowherd boys, and he sees the cowherd girl, then he looks by the corner of his eyes. He gives a side glance to these gopis. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also speaks this in Gambhira. He describes beautifully to Ramanand Rai.
भूषणेर भूषण अंग ताहे ललित त्रिभंग भूषणेर भूषण अंग ताहे ललित त्रिभंग तार ऊपर भूधनु नर्तन। श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभु कहते हैं कि कृष्ण का एक तो
Sri
स्वरूप
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that the body of Lord Shri Krishna is the ornament of the ornament. We wear ornaments so that we can beautify ourselves, decorate ourselves. But when Krishna wears the ornament, then because of Krishna, that ornament gets beautified. So he is the ornament of the ornament. And on top of that, his limbs are bent on three sides. And on top of that, his sidelong glances kills the cowherd girls. It is mentioned in the second line here.
नेत्रांत बाण तार दृढ़ संधान बिंधे राधा गोपी गणे मन। तिरछे नेत्रांते बाण, अपनी तिरछे
He
नेत्र
says by his sidelong glances, he shoots the arrows and they are so pointed that they pierce the heart of Srimati Radharani and the cowherd girls of Raja, and they are totally mesmerized by the Lord. So in this manner, Lord Madan Mohan, Lord Shri Krishna, by his sidelong glance, pierces the heart of the Srimati Radharani and the associates of Raja, and that is what is mentioned here as well. So a poet of Raja has written,
जाता है ये नंद का छोरा ऐसी बरछी बरछी मारता है, मतलब ऐसी
son of Nand Baba attacks with his sidelong glance
चितवन की पैनी छुरी चलाता है, हमको घायल देख बेदर्दी मंद मंद मुस्कुराता है, ललित किशोरी जखम जिगर पर नौनपुरी बुरकाता है। सो ललित किशोरी जी ने बहुत सुंदर ये पद लिखा है।
Lalit Kishori ji has written this beautiful pad, and even Ras Khan ji recites that you graze the cows in such a manner, so you should not enter our streets.
कवि ने सुनियो अब मेरी गलीन में आइए ना, आइए तो करुणा करके हंसी के तेरी सुनाइए ना, गाइए तो अधरा धरी के मुरली मंद बजाइए ना, तरसाइए ना उर प्रेम बिना, पुनियाइए तो फिर जाइए ना, आइए तो फिर जाइए ना। हे कृष्ण, हमारी
Oh
एक
Krishna,
सुनो कि हमारी गलियों में
this is one request that please you should not enter
यदि
our
हमारी
streets.
गलियों में आ गए
And if you
तो
enter
हमारी
our
दशा को
streets,
देखना मत,
then you should not
और
look
यदि
at
देख
us.
लिए तो तिरछी छित भी
And
मत करना,
if you have seen
आंखों से
us,
कटाक्ष मत करना, और यदि
then
आंखों
you
से
should not
कटाक्ष कर दिया
attack
तो
us
फिर
with your
भाग
side
गए
glance.
तो फिर वापस मत
And
जाइएगा।
if you come here and give us a side glance, then you should never leave us.
शिरसि शिखि पिच्छम और कटी तटे दुकुलम, और नेत्रांते आंखों से गोपियों पर तिरछी नजर से वो देखते हैं। और फिर सदा श्रीमद वृंदावन वसती, और क्या कहते हैं आगे?
And what does he add?
कहाँ
Sada,
वसती?
that is forever.
अमेरिका वसती,
Vasati, that is reside.
कलकत्ता वसती, दिल्ली
Where?
वसती, मुंबई वसती। वसती माने रहते हैं।
So where does he reside? So he always
श्रीमद
resides
वृंदावन वसती, वो सदा
in the
वृंदावन में वसती।
divine abode of Vrindavan.
यहाँ पर सदा तो आप समझ रहे हैं, सदा तो
So here you understand this Sada, that is always.
सदा के लिए, लेकिन वृंदावन को क्या कहते हैं?
But what is Vrindavan? It said Srimad Vrindavan.
से युक्त,
So that is
अर्थ है
the divine abode.
वृंदावन।
So it is the beautiful Vrindavan.
वृंदावन क्यों कहते हैं?
And why does he calls it Vrindavan? Because it is the
पिछली कथा में आए थे
forest of Vrinda.
सो वृंदा कुंड के विषय में चर्चा हो रही थी। सो वृंदा माने वृंदा देवी
So
का वन है, इसलिए वृंदा।
it is a forest of Vrinda Devi, therefore Vrindavan. And Vrinda is Radharani, also has this name, Srimati Radharani. So it is the forest of Srimati Radharani. So that is why also it is addressed as Vrindavan. And why Vrindavan? Vrind means group.
इस वृंदावन में जितने भी लोग
So
गोपी हैं, सब ग्रुप में समूह में होते हैं। गोपियां
people in Vrindavan are always in group. The gopis are in group. The cowherd boys are in group. The forest,
सब समूह में,
the
वो हमारी तरह मकुड़ी
deers and
में
cows
नहीं होते।
all are in
जहाँ
groups.
सब वृंद
They are
में
not like an
वृंद,
ant
जैसे
who
हम लोग
roams
बोलते हैं
alone.
भक्त वृंद, भक्त वृंद, तो जहाँ सब वृंद में
So
ग्रुप में
Bhakta
होते
Vrind,
हैं,
Vrind
इसलिए
means
वहाँ
group.
को वृंदावन कहते
That is why it is addressed as Vrindavan.
हैं। अच्छा, वृंदावन में भगवान की मुख्य लीला कौन सी है?
So what is the major pastime of the Lord in
तो बड़ी
Vrindavan?
सुंदर भजन में कहा गया है,
It is mentioned beautifully in this bhajan.
श्री रास
Samang-
जय जय राधा श्याम, जय जय रास लीला, सर्व मनोरमा, जय राधे जय कृष्ण, जय वृंदावन, श्री गोविंद गोपी नाथ, मदन मोहन, जय जय ज्वल रस, सर्वरस सार, पर किया भावे जहाँ, ब्रजे ते प्रचार। ये वृंदावन की महिमा है।
These are the glories of Vrindavan.
भगवान की लीला हुई, यमुना है,
So we think that
सुंदर
the Lord has performed his pastimes and there is Yamuna ji and therefore it is glorious. But technically,
जबरदस्त महिमा है।
this is the greatest glory of Vrindavan. And what is that? There are two glories here. First,
भगवान श्री कृष्ण की सबसे
Lord Shri Krishna's topmost pastime
वो है रास लीला।
is Ras
और
Leela.
रास लीला जो है एक
And
मात्र एक व्रज वृंदावन में ही होती है।
it happens only and only in Vrindavan.
दूसरा,
And second,
सबसे
The greatest mellow is what?
जैसे वात्सल्य, साख्य, माधुर्य.
Paternal, fraternal, and conjugal. And in conjugal also there are so many categories and subcategories or variations. But in Madhurya also,
उसमें भी स्वकिया पर किया.
and then there is
विलंब रस,
the
विलंब में भी स्वकिया
separation.
पर किया. सो पर किया जो सबसे
So
ऊंचा रस माना
Parakya
जाता है,
is
और
the
वो
highest
पर
mellow,
किया केवल
and that Parakya or
वृंदावन में ही
separation
संभव है.
is possible only in
सो
Vrindavan.
वृंदावन की ये दो जबरदस्त महिमा है
So
कि
these are the
सबसे
glories
ज्यादा
of
रासलीला
Vrindavan,
वृंदावन में होती है,
that the greatest
और
pastime
पर किया
Raslila is
रस
performed there,
वृंदावन
and
में.
the mellow of separation is also
सो ऐसे
possible
वृंदावन
in
में
Vrindavan. And
सदा
in
श्रीमद्
this
वृंदावन
Vrindavan,
वसती. हमारे
he
भगवान कहाँ रहते हैं सदा
resides
के लिए?
eternally
यहाँ
in
से
this
आपको उत्तर
divine
मिलेगा.
abode.
आपको यदि कोई पूछे आपके
And
भगवान
if someone asks you
वैष्णव
that your
रूप
Lord,
अवतार लेकर किसी को दर्शन
he
देने के लिए
incarnates
वहां
and he
आते हैं,
give
लेकिन उसका
audience,
बेज कहाँ पर, मतलब
but
वो सदा कहाँ वसती रहता है?
where does he resides
श्रीमद् वृंदावन
eternally?
में.
So that is
अच्छा,
Srimad
आपको भगवान
Vrindavan.
से मिलना है तो आपको कहाँ रहना पड़ेगा?
And if you want to meet the Lord, then
वहां पर उन्होंने राय रामानंद
where
को
should you
पूछा
reside? He
कि
Chaitanya
भगवान
Mahaprabhu asked Rai Ramanand,
सर्व त्यजी जीवेर कर्तव्य कहाँ वास. सब कुछ ताड़ छोड़ छाड़ कर जीव को
is that leaving everything behind, where does the living entity reside? Then Rai Ramanand replies, Rajabhumi Vrindavan, Jahan Leela Ras.
सब कुछ छोड़कर जीव को
So we should leave everything
वृंदावन का
behind
आश्रय लेना
and
चाहिए,
take the shelter
जहाँ
of
पर
Braj Vrindavan,
रासलीला होती है.
where Raslila is performed.
सो ब्रज वृंदावन जहाँ पर भगवान श्री कृष्ण
So
की
Braj
श्रीमद्
Vrindavan,
रासलीला
where
होती है.
the Lord performs
अच्छा,
his Rasalila,
हम लोग सोचते हैं केवल शरद
and we
पूर्णिमा
think
के दिन
that
भगवान
it
की
is
रासलीला
only on
होती है,
Sharad Purnima
ऐसा
that
नहीं
it
है.
happens, but that's
ये
not true.
रास रोज होता है, नित्य
It
होता है, और आज भी
happens on a daily
वृंदावन में रास
basis,
होता
eternal.
है.
And even today
निधिवन
it
में
happens in Nidhivan.
हाँ, आज भी वृंदावन में रास होता है. तो
The
यदि
Ras is
ऐसी
performed.
लीला करे गौर राय, कौन कौन भाग्यवान देखी वारे पाई. जो भाग्यशाली जीव होता है
So
वही
only a
भगवान की इस
fortunate
दिव्य लीला
person
को देखता है.
can see the divine transcendental pastime of the Lord.
लेकिन मुझे आपका ध्यान जिस शब्द पर आकर्षित
So
करना है
the word that
वो
I
क्या है?
want your
सदा
attention towards
श्रीमद्
is
वृंदावन वसती. ओके,
Sada Srimad
सदा
Vrindavan
श्रीमद्
Vasati.
वृंदावन वसती माने कृष्ण जो है
So
सदा सदा
Krishna
के लिए वृंदावन में रहते
eternally
हैं.
resides in
ओके,
Vrindavan.
यहाँ पर ये लिखा है.
So this is mentioned
इसको
here.
सपोर्ट देने वाला
And
मैं
to
और दो
support
तीन
it,
पॉइंट कहूँ.
there are 2-3
कि
more
पुराण
points that
में
I
लिखा
can
है
add. It
वृंदावनम
is mentioned in
परित्यज्य
Purana,
जगदात्मेकम न गच्छति. वृंदावन को छोड़कर भगवान
a
कभी बाहर
person
नहीं
who
जाते.
that
तो सपोर्ट
the
कर
Lord
दिया
never
किसने?
leaves
सदा
Vrindavan.
वृंदावन
So it
वसति.
can be supported here.
और एक भागवत जी
And
में आपको
further,
प्रमाण दूं, श्रीमद् भागवत जी में
if I give
लिखा
you a
है
proof from Bhagavatam, in Srimad Bhagavatam it is
रानी तव
mentioned,
साभूत सर्व यादव भूभुजाम मथुरा भगवान यत्र नित्यम सन्निहितो हरि. वृंदावन में भगवान नित्य
so
रहते हैं.
Vrindavan, in Vrindavan the Lord
तो
resides
इन सब
eternally, constantly.
प्रमाणों से हम
So
देखते
with
हैं
all
कि
these
भगवान
proof, we
वृंदावन
see
में.
that the
तो
Lord
फिर भी
always
आपसे
resides in
प्रश्न
Vrindavan.
पूछूं,
So if I ask you a
यहाँ
question,
पर लिखा है कि
it is
कृष्ण
mentioned
सदा
that the
श्रीमद्
Lord
वृंदावन
resides
वसति, और मैंने आपको
in
3-4 प्रमाण
Vrindavan,
भी दिए श्लोक
and I
में.
have given you 3-4
तो
proofs.
फिर वृंदावन को छोड़कर
Then
जो चला गया वो कौन?
who leaves Vrindavan? Who is that?
कृष्ण यदि वृंदावन में
If
सदा के लिए
Krishna
रहते हैं तो
resides
वृंदावन को
constantly in
छोड़कर जो
Vrindavan,
चला गया वो
then the
कौन? तो हमारे
person
जो
who
प्योर
left
डिवोटी है ना, वो
Krishna,
तुरंत आंसर देंगे कि
the
वो
pure devotees will say that
एक्चुअली वो चले गए और
Mathura's
वृंदावन
Krishna
वाले
left,
कृष्ण
and
वृंदावन में रह गए. ओके,
the
तो
Vrindavan
प्योर
of
डिवोटीज
the Krishna of
समझ में आता है
Vrindavan
ना कि जो
stayed back.
जो मथुरा से जो कृष्ण आए थे वसुदेव जी लेकर, वो
So
विष्णु
the
तत्व वो
Krishna
कृष्ण
that
चले गए,
came from
और फिर
Vasudev ji,
ब्रज वाले जो कृष्ण थे वो
the Vishnu
वृंदावन में
Tattva,
रहे.
he
इसलिए सदा
went back.
वृंदावन वसते. तो फिर मेरा उसके ऊपर और एक प्रश्न
So
है,
then I have
प्योर
a question
डिवोटी
on top of that,
कि ओके वृंदावन के कृष्ण
that
वृंदावन में रह गए,
the
तो फिर कृष्ण
Krishna of
मथुरा
Vrindavan
जाकर
stayed
रो
there.
क्यों रहे हैं?
Then why is he crying
तो
going
फिर
to
वो
Mathura?
द्वारिका जाकर माथा क्यों कूट रहे हैं?
why is he agitated on going to Dwarika? If he is in Vrindavan and he resides eternally in Vrindavan, then why is he crying? So there is a discrepancy here. So whatever is my perspective, maybe you all will agree. So what I understood is that so there can be so many references of Vedas, Puranas. There could be a long discourse and discussion, and there's so many things. So there are so many other proofs that prove that Krishna never leaves Vrindavan, and the one proof is here. So the one who went to Mathura, who is he? And who went to Dwarika, who is he? And if he is Vishnu Tattva, then why is he crying in separation from Srimati Radharani? So if he is Vishnu Tattva, then why will he cry in separation with Srimati Radharani?
आप लोग जो बहुत चलाते हो ना कि ये विष्णु तत्व यहाँ से आया वहां से आया वो गया तो फिर इसके रोने का कारण क्या है?
So what is the reason behind his distress? So let me speak the philosophy clearly to you. So there are so many proofs that prove that Krishna always resides in Vrindavan, never leaves Vrindavan. But there are so many other pastimes that he resides in Mathura and Dwarika, and the same Krishna who performed pastimes with Radharani, he resides in Dwarika and Mathura as well. So this Jagannath, where does he reside? Does he reside in Jagannath in Vrindavan? He is there in Jagannath Puri, 2500 kilometers away from Vrindavan. So in this Jagannath Ashtakam, Lord Jagannath is Krishna and he is in Jagannath Puri. Then how is he staying in Vrindavan? So let me just give you a key to clarify this. So they both are truthful. So if I want to simplify it, Sada Srimad Vrindavan Vasati. So these two things are completely true. So how are we going to understand this? With his heart and mind, he resides in Vrindavan, but by his body he travels to Mathura, Dwarika and Jagannath Puri. So Lord's heart is always in Vrindavan and his body to fulfill his responsibilities he leaves to Mathura, Dwarika and Jagannath Puri. So his body might be in all these places, but his heart resides permanently in Vrindavan. So by his mellow and his heart, he resides in Vrindavan constantly. And according to essence, in the spiritual world, I'm not talking about the material world because it's the reverse or inverted. So in spiritual world, the mental presence is far more powerful than the body. But it's not the same in the material world. So Krishna's heart resides always in Vrindavan and his body
पूरी में है।
goes to Mathura, Dwarika and Puri.
सो मन की प्रधानता है, तो इससे हमें भी ये सीख मिलती है
So we also get
कर्तव्य के अनुसार,
a
धर्म के
lesson
अनुसार
that
हमें अपने
according to
शरीर
our
को
work and
यहाँ
need,
वहाँ भले रखना पड़े,
we might have to keep
मन
our body here and there,
सदा श्रीमद्
but our
वृंदावन
heart should
वसती।
always be immersed in
इसलिए वृंदावन
Vrindavan.
की बड़ी महिमा हमारे
Therefore,
आचार्यों ने गाई है
the glories
कि
of Vrindavan are
जो कवि
sung
हुए, भक्त हुए,
by the
हमारे
scholars
संप्रदाय
and great devotees.
वो कहते हैं रे मन वृंदा विपिन निहार, अरे मन तू
Oh,
वृंदावन
my
का दर्शन
heart,
कर, यद्यपि मेरे
just
कोटि
have
चिंतन
an audience with Vrindavan,
वृंदावन के बाहर
and
करोड़ों करोड़ों रुपया
outside
किसी को भी
Vrindavan,
मिल जाए,
if you get
करोड़ों चिंता
millions and
मिट जाए,
billions of
तदपि
money, of
भाव
wealth,
अनुसार रे मन वृंदा विपिन
yet
विहार,
you should not
विपिन राज सीमा के बाहर, इस
ask
विपिन
for
राज,
that.
इस वृंदावन के
And
सीमा के
beyond
बाहर
this
यदि
deep
तुझे भगवान
forest
मिलते हैं,
of
फिर भी उसकी
Vrindavan,
ओर मत देख,
and
यदि
if you
कृष्ण
see the
मिलेंगे
Lord there,
तो वृंदावन
then you
की
should not
नजर
look
चल,
at him. Because
वृंदावन
if
के
we
बाहर
want
वाला
Krishna,
कृष्ण
then we
तुझे
want
नो खपे,
him.
हमको खपता नहीं है,
That is the one
इसलिए
who
नहीं
resides in
खपता है
Vrindavan.
वृंदावन वाला कृष्ण। सो विपिन राज सीमा के बाहर हरि हूं को न निहार, रे मन वृंदा विपिन निहार। सो इस प्रकार
So in this manner,
वृंदावन वसती,
he resides permanently in
सदा
Vrindavan.
श्रीमद् वृंदावन में वसती रहकर क्या करते हैं?
And what does he do there? He performs pastimes.
शब्द सिंपल है, सदा श्रीमद् वृंदावन
So
में वसती रहकर क्या
Vasati,
करते हैं?
Leela, that is
लीला करते
pastime.
हैं,
So he performs his
स्वयं लीला
pastimes.
करते हैं और लीला के
So
साथ
he
क्या करते
performs
हैं?
his
उस लीला का
pastimes, and
प्रचार करते हैं, परिचयो,
Parichayo means
परिचय
he
माने दुनिया के लोगों को
preaches,
कृष्ण
he
की
tells
अपनी
the
लीला का
people of the world,
परिचय कराते हैं।
he introduces his pastimes to the people
सदा
of this world.
श्रीमद् वृंदावने वसती, सदा के लिए वृंदावन
So
में
he
रहते
resides
हैं,
constantly in
रहकर
Vrindavan
लीला करते हैं
and
और फिर
performs his
लीला का
pastimes,
परिचय कराते हैं।
and after that he
प्रचार करते
introduces
हैं,
the same
ऐसे
to
जगन्नाथ
the people
स्वामी
of the world.
नयन
Such
पथ गामी
Jagannath
भव
Swami
तुम्हें,
should be the
ऐसे
object of
जगन्नाथ
my
दादा
vision.
मेरे नयन पथ में आ जाइए। तो ये हुआ दूसरा श्लोक।
He should reside
ठीक
in
है,
my vision,
आई
or
होप,
he should be the
आशा
object
करता
of my
हूँ
vision.
कि आप
So I
सबको
hope
ये
that
दूसरा श्लोक समझ में आ
you
गया।
all would have
आइए
understood this second
अब
verse.
तीसरे
So
श्लोक पर
now
आगे बढ़े।
let's proceed
तीसरे
to the
श्लोक में
third verse. And in the third
जगन्नाथपुरी,
verse,
जगन्नाथ मंदिर, भगवान के घर
the
भवन का
glories
वर्णन
of
किया गया है।
Jagannath Ji's home is presented.
भुजे सेव्य वेणुं शिरसि शिखि पीछम कटितटे दुकूलम, अरे ये तो दूसरा है, यस, महाम्बोधिस्तीरे कनक रुचिरे नील शिखरे वसन प्रासादांत सहज बलभद्रेण बलिना सुभद्रा मध्यस्थ सकल सुरसेवाव सरदो जगन्नाथ स्वामी नयन पथगामी भवतु मे। सो जगन्नाथपुरी का वर्णन हो रहा है।
So Jagannath Puri is described here in this verse,
पुरी धाम, प्लेस ऑफ सेपरेशन,
the place of
ये
separation.
विरह का स्थान है।
This is the place where they're separated. That is Jagannath.
कैसा है? महा,
So how is it?
महा माने
Maha,
विशाल,
that is great, huge.
महा क्या है? अंबोधे,
And what
अम्ब
is
माने जल,
great? Ambodhe, that is
जल
water.
का समुद्र,
or the ocean of
सो
water.
महाअंबोधे,
So Maha Ambodhe,
महासमुद्र, ओके, इतना समझ में आ रहा है?
that is a great ocean.
महाअंबोधे, सो महासमुद्र है, महान सागर है,
So
आज भी
there
है।
is a great ocean,
तो सागर के तीरे, तीर माने तट,
and on the shores of that ocean,
महासागर के तीर में, तट में क्या है?
what is there?
कनक रुचिरे, कनक माने
Kanak,
सोना,
that is
सोना
gold.
कैसे रंग का होता है?
And what
गोल्ड
color
का
is
मतलब
that?
पीले
That
रंग
is
का।
gold.
सो बहुत सुंदर पीले वर्ण का एक सुंदर भवन है, प्रासाद।
And there is a
प्रासाद है,
beautiful
भवन है।
palace of gold.
तो बहुत सुंदर यहाँ पर वर्णन है
So
कि
it is beautifully
समुद्र
described.
में जल का रंग कैसा होता है?
The
नीला।
color of the
ठीक है?
ocean is blue.
समुद्र का जल नील वर्ण का।
So the
अच्छा, ऊपर
color
आकाश
of the
भी नील
ocean is
वर्ण
blue,
का।
and the sky is also blue.
सो नीचे समुद्र नील वर्ण का, आकाश नील वर्ण का, और जगन्नाथ जी के मंदिर में जो शिखर है,
And
वो
the
शिखर भी
temple
नील
in
वर्ण का।
Jagannath ji,
आप
that
देख सकते हैं
cliff
कि
is also of
महाअंबोधे
blue color.
स्थिरे,
So you can
महासमुद्र
see
के तीर पर
Maha
कनक
Ambos,
रुचिरे
this
नील शिखर है।
Kanakaruchire,
नील
Neela
शिखर
Shikhare,
वाला कनक,
that is the
सोने का
blue
बना
cliff.
हुआ मंदिर है,
And there
या
is a
भवन है,
temple of gold or a palace of
बहुत
gold.
बड़ा प्रासाद है, विशाल भवन है।
And it is a huge palace.
बहुत सुंदर सोने से बना हुआ ये भवन है।
So this is a beautiful palace of
विश्वकर्मा
gold.
ने बनाया था।
And it was
महाराज
made by
इंद्रद्युम्न, सतयुग की ये
Vishwakarma.
बात है।
It is the time of
महाराज इंद्रद्युम्न
Satyuga.
की कथा में स्कंद पुराण में हम सुनते हैं
It is mentioned in Skanda
कि
Puran
महाराज इंद्रद्युम्न ने ये सारा उपक्रम रचा और
that
विश्वकर्मा के
Indraduman
द्वारा ये सुंदर
performed
मंदिर
this enterprise,
बना और
and
ब्रह्मा जी
Vishwakarma
ने
made this
इसका
temple of
उद्घाटन किया
gold.
था।
And Brahmaji had
सो
inaugurated this
महासमुद्र के
temple
तीर पर
or palace.
कनक रुचिर गोल्ड पीले रंग का एक भवन है।
So there is this
भवन के ऊपर नील वर्ण का शिखर है,
gold-hued
सुंदर
palace
नीले वर्ण का शिखर है,
or gold
वसंत
palace,
भगवान वहां पर रहते
and
हैं,
the
उस
Lord resides
प्रासाद में
there.
रहते हैं। तो वसन प्रासाद, वसन माने बसते हैं, रहते हैं।
So the Lord
प्रासाद में,
resides there
उस भवन में।
in
कैसा
this
भवन है?
palace. And
कनक
what kind of
रुचिर,
palace is this?
कनक माने
Kanaka
सोने का
Ruchire.
भवन है,
That
रुचिर
is the
माने
palace of gold.
सुहावना, मन को
Ruchir means
आकर्षित करने वाला,
beautiful,
रुचिकर,
benevolent,
सोने से बना हुआ भवन जिस पर नीले
mesmerizing,
वर्ण का शिखर लगा है,
which has a
और उस भवन में
blue
एक
crest.
शब्द है, आप देखेंगे वसन प्रासाद, प्रासाद के अंतः माने
And
एकदम
you can
अंतःपुर
see
में।
this word,
आज भी आप
Prasada
जगन्नाथ मंदिर
Antaha.
में जाओगे तो बहुत सारे मंडप आते हैं, पहला मंडप, दूसरा मंडप, तीसरा मंडप।
So
जगन्नाथ
there
जी
are
का
so
ये
many,
एकदम अंदर होता है,
and the
इसलिए
Lord
यहाँ पे
is
शब्द है अंतः,
in the
प्रासाद
deep
अंत, उस
heart
प्रासाद,
of
उस
this
भवन
palace.
के बिल्कुल अंतःपुर में भगवान जगन्नाथ रहते हैं।
So there Lord Jagannath resides.
नहीं,
Does he resides there
सहज
alone? No.
बलभद्रेण बलिना, बलराम जी के साथ,
Sahaja
सुभद्रा जी
Bal
के साथ
Bhadrana
रहते हैं।
Balina.
मतलब ये
So he
चरित्र
rides
में
there
मिलता
with
है। भगवान जी सिखाते हैं,
Baldev
मिलकर
Ji,
के रहते
Balbhadra,
मत जियो मरो, हाँ?
and Subhadra Maya.
परिवार में रहो,
So he says that you should not
फैमिली में रहो,
live
तो
alone,
बच्चों
you
को
should live in
संस्कार
joint
आए,
family so that
थोड़ी
the
मर्यादा में रहें।
children get culture and we live in
तो यहाँ
our
यहाँ बहुत
lives
सुंदर वर्णन है
modestly.
कि
So
भगवान
this is
जगन्नाथ
beautifully
वहां पर
described here
महल में, सोने के
that Lord
महल में,
Jagannath Ji resides in a beautiful,
प्रासाद, प्रासाद
magnanimous
के
palace,
अंतःपुर में रहते
and
हैं।
he resides in the
किसके
heart
साथ
of
रहते
this
हैं?
palace, and he resides
बलभद्रेण,
with whom?
बलभद्र
Balbhadrana,
के साथ।
that is
पिछली कथा में आपने सुना
Balram Ji.
बलराम जी का
So
नामकरण किया,
as
बलराम
you've
जी
heard
क्या
in the last
नाम
katha
क्यों?
that
क्योंकि उसमें
he
बल ज्यादा है,
Balram Ji
इसका नाम
was
बल है।
dressed as
बल
Bal.
माने कल्याण, बलि
Bhadra
माने
means
बलवान।
welfare.
सो बलवान बलभद्र के साथ रहते हैं,
So
लेकिन
with a
किस तरह से
strong
झगड़ा करके रहते
Balbhadra,
हैं हम लोगों
he
की
resides
तरह?
there.
रोज उठ के
Does
झगड़ा,
he
रोज उठ के मतभेद,
fight?
मनभेद नहीं, प्रेम से रहते हैं।
No.
इसलिए
They
कौन
live
सा
there
शब्द
with
दिया
love.
है?
That is why
सहज,
there is word
सहज,
Sahaj. So he resides with his brother easily, without effort. So they have a great understanding among themselves.
तो समझ में लगभग आ गया कि महा अंबुधे समुद्र के तीर पे
So
कनक
on the
वज्र
shores of this
सोने
great
का
ocean,
प्रासाद है,
there
भवन
is
है,
a
मन को सुहाना
palace
है।
of gold
उस
which
प्रासाद
is
भवन में नीले
mesmerizing,
रंग का शिखर है
and it has a
और
blue
उसमें
colored
वसुन रहते हैं।
hill
कहाँ रहते हैं? उस प्रासाद के अंत में,
or a
उस महल
cliff,
में
and
बिल्कुल लास्ट रूम
the
में
Lord resides
भगवान जगन्नाथ जी रहते हैं। अकेले नहीं रहते हैं,
in the heart
सहज
of this palace, and
बलभद्रेण
he
भगवान
resides
बलभद्र के साथ रहते हैं।
with
और साथ में कौन
Balbhadra,
है?
and
बोले
who is
केवल
along
बलराम
with
नहीं है,
not only Bal
सुभद्रा मध्यस्थ।
but also Subhadra
एक
Maiya
बाजू
is
बलराम
in the
जी
middle.
हैं और दूसरी मध्य में सुभद्रा जी हैं। तो सुभद्रा मध्यस्थ, हाँ? सुभद्रा जी के साथ, हाँ? मध्यस्थ रहता है। एक 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 सीक्रेट बात कहूं?
So let
चलो,
me share a secret.
ये तीन लोग हैं ना, जगन्नाथ,
So
बलदेव और
there are these
सुभद्रा।
three people, Jagannath,
ये
Baldev,
तीन
and
कौन है?
Subhadra.
कृष्ण,
So who are
बलराम
they?
और उसकी बहन
Krishna,
सुभद्रा।
Balram, and his
सो
sister
कृष्ण, बलराम
Subhadra.
और सुभद्रा, ये तीन जगन्नाथ, बलदेव और सुभद्रा के रूप में कैसे हो गए?
So how
इसका
did
कारण
they
क्या है?
transform
आप सब लोग
in the
जानते हैं
form of
कि
Balbhadra
द्वारिका
and
में कृष्ण को राधा
Subhadra?
का
You
विरह
all are
याद
aware
था,
that
रो रहे थे, और श्री
Krishna was
कृष्ण
crying on
यही कथा
separation,
सुनकर
and by
18
listening to his
विकार आ
own
गए,
pastime,
राइट?
he got these 8
यही कथा
symptoms of
सुनकर राधा के विरह में कृष्ण
ecstatic
जगन्नाथ
love,
बन गए, और फिर
and he turned
बलभद्र
into
बलराम जी
Jagannath,
भी
and
बलभद्र हो गए,
Balramji turned
और
into
सुभद्रा
Bal,
भी उनका रूप
and
बदल गया।
Subhadra
तो यहाँ
also
पर मेरा प्रश्न
transformed.
है
So
कि
here I have
कृष्ण,
this
बलराम
question
और सुभद्रा, इन
that
तीनों को
Krishna,
जब
Balram, and
सात्विक
Subhadra,
विकार आया,
they all
तो
got the
इस
8
कृष्ण कथा
symptoms
का, इस विकार
of
का
ecstatic love.
सबसे ज्यादा प्रभाव किस पर पड़ा?
So who was the most affected by
नेचुरली
it?
कृष्ण के ऊपर पड़ना चाहिए,
Naturally,
कृष्ण
it
को
should
राधा
be
का
on
विरह था,
Krishna because he was
लेकिन
separated with
राधा विरह का प्रभाव
Srimati
कृष्ण और
Radharani.
बलराम से भी ज्यादा
But
सुभद्रा को आया,
Subhadra ji got more
सुभद्रा
affected
को पड़ा।
than Lord Shri
अपने
Krishna and
भाई का
Balram
कष्ट
ji by
उससे
seeing
ज्यादा
the
भी बहन को हुआ। आप कहोगे
distress
प्रमाण,
of her brother.
प्रमाण आप सब
She
जानते
was
हैं
more distressed,
कि
and
जैसे ही
you can
ये
see the
अष्ट
proof
सात्विक विकार आने लगे,
as
तो
they
कृष्ण
got
के
these
हाथ और
8
पांव
symptoms of
सिकुड़ने
ecstatic love.
लगे,
His
बलराम जी के हाथ
body
पैर सिकुड़ने
started
लगे,
shrinking,
राइट? ये उनका रूप बदल गया।
so their
फिर
bodies
नहीं,
started
हाथ और पांव
transforming.
कृष्ण और बलराम के केवल सिकुड़े,
So they
सुभद्रा
only
जी के
got
हाथ
shrunk.
ही चले गए।
Subhadra ji
आप
lost her
जगन्नाथ बलदेव
hand.
सुभद्रा को देखते हो,
If you
कृष्ण के
see
हाथ है,
Jagannath, Baldev,
बलराम के भी
Subhadra,
हाथ है,
Krishna
सुभद्रा के
and
हाथ
Balram
नहीं
have
है।
hands, but Subhadra
सुभद्रा
ji
जी के
don't have
हाथ सिकुड़
hands.
गए,
She
और फिर
had
पूर्ण रूप
her
से अंदर चले गए।
hands
सो इस प्रकार
were
से
lost or shrunk completely.
सुभद्रा के जीवन में ये
So
अद्भुत चीज
therefore,
देखा गया।
we can see
जब
that
जगन्नाथ जी
she
का
has
रथ
more
चलता है
symptoms of ecstasy. And
तो
when the
सुभद्रा जी का
chariot of
पीयूष
Lord
मंडल,
Jagannath ji
सबसे पहले बलराम का
starts,
ताल
then
ध्वज, फिर
in
सुभद्रा
middle is
देवदत्त,
Subhadra ji's
और
chariot.
फिर नंदी घोष पर जगन्नाथ जी चलते हैं। तो उस बहुत बड़े भवन में
So in this great
सुभद्रा
palace,
मध्यस्थ, बीच में सुभद्रा जी
Subhadra
है,
ji is in the
जगन्नाथ जी
center,
है, और
and
बलराम जी है।
Jagannath ji and
इस
Balbhadra
प्रकार से
ji reside
ज्वाइंट
together,
फैमिली में रहते हैं। और फिर क्या कहते
a
हैं?
joint family. And
सकल
further he
सुर
adds,
सेवा अवसर दो। सकल माने
Sakal
सभी,
Sur Seva.
सुर माने देवता,
So
तो
Sakal
सकल
means
सुर
all,
सभी
Sur means
देवताओं को
demigods. So
सेवा,
all the
सेवा करने
demigods
का अवसर दो
get an
देते हैं।
opportunity to serve.
कितना इजी हो गया?
Avsar is opportunity.
सकल
Seva
माने
is to
सभी
serve.
देवताओं को
Do means to give.
सेवा
So
अवसर,
he gives an
सेवावसर
opportunity
माने
to
सेवा करने का
serve
अवसर दो
to
बार
all the
देते हैं।
demigods.
वैसे देवताओं को प्रभु की सेवा का
So
अवसर नहीं मिलता,
usually
लेकिन
demigods don't get
जगन्नाथ
an
बलदेव
opportunity to serve the Lord, but Jagannath
देवताओं को
Lord
सेवा करने का
gives
अवसर देते हैं।
opportunity to all the
जगन्नाथ जी को
demigods to
रोज
serve
देवता आते
him.
हैं जगन्नाथ
And
जी
the
की सेवा
demigods come
करने।
there on a daily basis
तो
to
मौका
serve the
मिला,
Lord.
ऐसे जगन्नाथ स्वामी
So
नयन
such
चितगामी
Lord
मेरे
Jagannath
प्रिय
should be the
सखी।
object of my
इस
vision.
प्रकार से भगवान
So
जगन्नाथ
in
जी
this
की
manner,
ये सुंदर दिव्य लीला
this divine transcendental pastime. We all have been listening. So today, it's pious day of Ekadashi, and we all will offer tulsi leaves to the Lord's lotus feet. So the glories of Tulsi ji has been sung in all our Vedic scriptures, Puranas and Vedas, and previously we have spoken for 7 days about the glories of Tulsi ji. So Tulsi Maharani is the only living entity that is a connection between us and the Lord. So Krishna is in the deity form in front of us. So whatever that we have is the deity form of the Lord. But the living element that is with us is Tulsi Maharani, who resides with Tulsi ji or with the Lord, all the pastimes. So therefore, Thakur Bhakti Vinod says, Dina Krishna Das says that please be merciful and give us an opportunity to serve Radharani and Lord Shri Krishna. Please give us an opportunity to reside in Vrindavan and serve the Lord. As if we have 36 types of bhoga, the Lord doesn't accept it without Tulsi leaf. So without the mercy of Tulsi ji, we cannot get the mercy of the Lord. So today, we all, on the auspicious day of Ekadashi and Purushottam month, we will offer Tulsi leaves to the Lord. So we will pause here. So we have covered 3 verses so far. So the remaining 5 are there. We will discuss later. So let's conclude today's session with Jai Jaykar.
ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम महापुराण की, श्री कृष्णचंद्र भगवान की, जगत गुरु